welcome back to my channel. And before we get started in this video, don't forget to go like, subscribe, share this video, and check out my links down below. I have a Patreon account. You can go check it out. I have really cool pictures that I like to take and model in, and they're really artistic and beautiful. And I also have a Hey Hero account where you can go in there, you can ask me questions and just chat with me. So go check those out. They're listed down below. And today we're going to keep continuing with my series of unfortunate jobs. So I'm trying to get some videos completed. I've been recognizing that ADHD and trying to work with whatever I feel inspired to make each week. And so I've been kind of on a kick for making or just talking about my story about how I've really struggled in the workforce. And it kind of has been a little bit validating that people with ADHD really struggle in the workforce, even though when you go back and you really dissect and you look at my entire history with the job industry, a lot of the times when I lost my job or when there were things going on, it wasn't necessarily my ADHD or necessarily my fault. It was usually illegal tactics and something going on internally with the company, the manager, the owner, you know, etc., etc. So I don't really know if that goes back to my ADHD, but I did see that a lot of people with ADHD have issues in the workforce. So it's just like, okay, cool, I'm not crazy, you know? Because if you get fired from tons and tons of jobs and you're really trying and you're clawing your way to some sort of employment that will pay you a living wage, it gets a little disheartening, you know? So, so if you go check out my other videos, I should have right now 3 up on my series of unfortunate jobs, and I just chronicle my journey from the time that I first entered the workforce at 18 when I started college, and I was tutoring math at that time at my college, or actually it was community college. And now we're going to be talking about in this video my experience when I moved out to Seattle. So I used to live in Mississippi. I moved out to the Seattle area about 3.5 years ago, and of course I struggled with employment in Mississippi because it's a very impoverished area, not a lot of opportunity, and I also have a biochemistry degree. Never worked in it, never was hired for any job in my field of study. You know, it wasn't from the lack of applying, but you know, that's just what happened. So I'm not going to ruminate on that. I'm going to keep pushing forward. So I've also had a business, a boutique. I've taught myself marketing, photography, and now videography because I do my videos and how to edit them and stuff on my laptop. So there's just a lot of things that I have taught myself through the years on the side, because with ADHD, you like to learn things. You're constantly reading about stuff. You're very curious and inquisitive. So that definitely applies to me. I constantly have ideas, thoughts, questions popping into my mind constantly all day long, and cool ways of doing this and business ideas for that. And so I figured that moving out here to the Midwest area or the Pacific Northwest, that it would really give me a chance to explore jobs that maybe fit my kind of style a little bit better, because I like science, and I also like things to be changing. You know, with ADHD, you want to constantly be working with different things every single day. So coming out here, I actually applied to a lot of jobs over a few months, and the job that I ended up getting when I first moved out here was a construction sales job. So it was an outside sales job. It was the first time that I was working from home, or you had to go to the clients' houses, but I did not have a place I had to go to. Loved it. I could work from cafes, the beach, anywhere. And it also was the first time where I had the flexibility that I could either shut down my calendar or do these different things. Of course I didn't, because I am a people pleaser, and because my past job experiences have been so horrible and I've been so mistreated, I always feel like when I go into a job that I need to be like a doormat. I need to be the best employee. I need to be the best at everything. I need to quickly learn everything. I need to prove myself every single day, and I need to not rock the boat ever. I need to just, you know, deal with it, whatever's going on. So with this job, I was pretty much opened up my schedule. I was working almost 7 days a week pretty much, but not like full days because we only had like so many appointments that came through. So we had a lady who scheduled the appointments. She was really sweet and really nice. I liked her. Could tell she was a firecracker though. And so she would kind of like put them on my schedule. She would time them out nicely so that traffic and things like that. I was never late for appointments, which was really nice. And I could go to those appointments, and it was all over Seattle and even other areas like way down in like Snohomish. And I even took a trip to Portland and did some jobs down in there in like Vancouver, Washington. And my boss, or the owner, he paid for the trip, he paid for my gas, he paid for the hotel, he pays for all those types of things. So it was a really fun and nice experience because I got to work from home. I could clock in and out on an app on my phone, and I could work on bids and drawing out these sketches and everything like that, and calculating costs for how much things were going to be, and emailing clients, texting clients, whatever. I could do all of that while I was watching my shows, like doing other things. It was so much fun. Like I really liked being able to have that nice balance. Of course, when I first started working there, I didn't know anything and I wasn't taught anything really. He sent me a couple of videos. He told me to just Google stuff and just read. And so I just started doing that, and I was running appointments with some people that were kind of like teaching me, but that only happened a few times. And then I was out on my own, but it was pretty easy work, and I'm really good at learning new things. So I was up and running within like a week, but I was working a ton of hours because I was trying to teach myself the business. And of course it was paid. So I would clock in and teach myself the business and watch all these YouTube videos and read all these things. And I like to know how things work because if a customer asks me, how does this work? I want to be able to explain it in great detail, the science and everything down, and about it. So I was doing bidding for railing. I was doing bidding for the this like sealant that we would put on stone and things like that, like walkways and countertops, mostly countertops because it was very costly. And then I also did this system that waterproofed like decks and things like that, like underneath. So out here in the Pacific Northwest, we have a lot of houses that are tiered. They're usually on like hills and mountains and things like that. And so you'll have like an area where you'll have a deck, and that deck creates a roof. And so you can go in and waterproof all of that and make it really, really nice, and put lighting in and whatever else you want to put, like little heaters we could put in. Like there were so many cool options and things you could do. But the thing is this system was very expensive. I mean, I'm talking super expensive. It was very unusual to find a project that was under $5,000. Most projects were going to be around $10,000 or so. And so when I first started there, the owner actually had the lady who schedules the appointments. She usually vets the people because I was the only female salesperson. And I had two other coworkers, they were male. And they got the really good jobs. They got the ones that were really expensive, really nice. Their leads were vetted really good. And mine were not. Like anybody that called that wanted what I was kind of doing, they immediately just booked it. She didn't discuss with them price. She didn't discuss with them like what it entailed. So we had so many random appointments. I would go to some houses and they were so run down. Like there was one house I went to, luckily the person was not there. So I just like walked into the backyard and they were like, cool, fine. And I just like took photos. It was so dark. It was like this little shed thing or something. And I was like, what are they wanting me to do here? Like the property was really run down and not well kept. And I'm thinking, does this person know that this is probably going to be like $10,000 or $20,000? And so, but he told me, the owner, his logic was he wanted to send me out on every single appointment that came, and he wanted me to do it because he thought it would be good practice and it would be good learning experience for me since I had just started. So I was working like 80 hours a week because I was running so many appointments, working the sales, and just figuring out how to do it and learning the whole entire thing all on my own. But it was, it was nice. I felt like it was the first time that I was doing something that really engaged my attention. I was able to use math skills. I was able to use reasoning skills. I was able to use my people skills, customer service skills. And I was out driving around in a new area, in a new city. And I was getting paid to drive around. I was getting paid to sit in the traffic. I was getting paid to, in between my the little areas that I would, between like the stops and things like that, I could stop off and view the ocean, you know, if I was there early and things like that. Like I could get to experience and explore and get to see Seattle like I was visiting it, but I was getting paid to do it. So it was really nice to be paid learning the new area that I was in. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really liked it, but I quickly started to see that the way I was being treated and the way that the owner was viewing me was different from my male coworkers, because he started wanting me to go out and drum up business for him as marketing, getting paid the same hourly as my coworkers who just solely focused on making very, very high ticket sales. I mean, I'm talking about decks and things that entire like outdoor kitchens that cost $100,000 and they get 3% of that, while I was being sent pennies, the jobs that were just like, it's really, really tiny, and I was getting paid the same hourly. And on top of that, he wanted me to go out and try to talk to, you know, like grocery stores, and he wanted me to go talk to a lumber company, and all these people he wanted me to go approach or email or try to drum up business for him while I made the hourly rate that was really low and not making any commission. And that was the whole point of doing this, is that leads were scheduled for me, jobs were scheduled for me. I made a lower, you know, hourly rate, but I go to those sales calls, I make the sales, and I make a cut and a commission, and it helps to offset the low hourly pay that I'm getting. But my male coworkers were not treated that way. They did not have to go out and try to market for him. And his reasoning was that because I am this beautiful female, that the people will be more receptive to me reaching out to them or going and saying, "Hi, do you want to do business with us?" Because of my aesthetic and the way that I look, that's what he wanted from me. That's a little unfair. And so I started feeling like this is a little unfair. No matter how much I love this job, why am I being treated differently? Of course, I'd only been there like a month and a half, 2 months maybe. And I was thinking, I can't rock the boat. Like, I can't stand up to this person, because you know what? My past, it has shown me anytime I try to stand up for myself for any reason, whether it is illegal treatment, I get fired, or they start the process of firing me. I get retaliated against. So I was like, I can't really say anything. I can't really do anything. So I tried to do a little marketing here and there, just emailing and things like that, because I wasn't gonna waste my time driving all around the city trying to drum up this business. And so I did that, and then he started asking me to send him like a log of all the companies that I'd reached out to trying to drum up business for his company. Then we met in Starbucks after I'd been there for, I was hired in April. It was May that I first met with him. And I sold my second month, I sold $40,000 worth of these really small ticket items. And it was very hard to get all that. And I was new. I'd only been there, that was after like 3 weeks out on my own, maybe 4. And we met, and the 40,000 was not good enough for him. Like, he actually met with me and was upset, saying that he had spent so much money sending me out on so many leads that didn't lead to anything. And I'm thinking, dude, did you forget what you told me previously? You were sending me out on all these unvetted leads because you want me to gain experience, because you want me to learn the business. You can't have it both ways. You can't send me out on every single lead that thinks that this system's going to cost $200, and when I go and tell them it's going to be $20,000, you can't bet that on me. That's on you. You chose to not vet them. So don't come and whine and complain to me that every single one of these leads you sent me on cost you $300 or whatever because you sent me on it, and there's gas money and my hourly associated with it and the cost of buying that lead through marketing, when you are the one who made that decision. That's on you. Sorry, bud, no. Not gonna happen. So he was like talking like that, and I'm just thinking, are you for real? But of course, didn't say anything again because I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to get fired. Another male, he's looking at me. He's very unhappy with me. Me being the small female, oh no, like I can't say anything. I can't stand up for myself. And so I was really starting to feel very unhappy with that situation. And you know what's really sad and really bad about that is that I would have stayed with this company and I probably would have grown and been able to do amazing things. But the thing is that the way that he was so immature and childish, and the way that he treated me because I was a female, is just unacceptable. I can't even believe that there are people that operate like that in this world, especially here in Washington. So that's what we're gonna get into. We're really gonna get into that out here in Washington. I have experienced so much of this. It's been atrocious how much I have experienced treatment from these males and even a female. Like I don't know if I'm gonna get that far into the story, but it's been really, really bad. And I've tried to make complaints against L&I because a lot of these companies actually still owe me money to this day. And L&I's website doesn't let me submit the claims. I can fill out the entire thing, write out my entire story, how much I think that they probably owe me because I really don't even know the exact amount. And because it's years ago. And go through that entire process, and when I hit submit, the whole thing just spins forever. It's just a waste of my time. So I really want to try to maybe call them or something like that because I'm just tired of these companies being able to get away with treating you so illegally and stealing from you. No, not okay, not on my watch. So yeah, the whole thing with him is that I really started to see a breakdown with that, but it was okay. I was like, you know what, I'm really gonna try. I'm gonna try to do this marketing. I'm gonna try to keep my mouth shut and try not to rock the boat. I'm gonna make this work. But I was getting really depressed because I didn't have any friends, I didn't have any coworkers, and I was just stuck in the apartment. And I was at a job that, even though I loved everything about it, I just didn't like the owner and his style of doing business. And so it was about July. It was July 4th. So right before July 4th, I had spoken to the lady who does the scheduling, and I told her, I said, hey, I might be going back to Mississippi. You know, just mentioning it casually and just having a conversation with my coworker. And I guess she goes and tells the owner that I'm leaving because I didn't have a chance to talk to him and discuss this. If he had been able to handle this as like an adult, then maybe I could still be working there. But literally a few days after that, it was the day after July 4th, I get up and I go to log into my email, you know, and check things and talk with customers, whatever, you know, my usual work day. And it says that my email, I can't log into it. And I'm like, well, that's weird. It says password's been changed, my work email. So I send him a text and I'm like, hey, like something's wrong with my work email. Like it's not letting me log in, so the password's been changed, you know. And 5 minutes later, my coworker, who acts as like the boss, but he wasn't really a manager or anything like that, but he calls me and is like, oh, like, you're fired. Just not a good fit. Like, you didn't ask enough questions. Like, didn't ask enough questions? What do you mean? I've been consistently selling $40,000 a month. You haven't had an issue with me up until you heard I might potentially be leaving. Now you want to have an issue and you want to say, oh, we didn't have enough questions. Like, what kind of questions do you want from me? It was so bizarre. It was so weird. I was like, that's just fake. But of course you still feel really bad when you get fired from jobs, even if it's for bogus and completely BS reasons. So I was like, wow. And then he sent me an email, the actual owner. So he sent me an email and was like this lengthy email. And he was just telling me, you know, and he was very passive aggressive. And he was like, good luck in Alabama. And I was like, I'm not even going to Alabama, but okay. You know, if you'd actually talked to me. And I went back home for just a little bit. I was not there very long. I was like, if he had actually discussed it with me and talked to me, maybe I could have went back, got my little fix to see my family and all that kind of stuff, and then come back and I could still be working for him. And the strangest thing is that I still talk to some of my coworkers from him, and I actually still I saw them like last year when I worked for another construction company at a home show type of thing that I did. And my coworkers, they're telling me, they're like, oh, like all the new hires, and whenever he talks to people, like you are like, he always sings your praises. Like he's always like, oh, the sales lady, like she was so amazing, she was so great, she was so wonderful. Like he's always like, he's put me on a pedestal now. Dude, then why'd you fire me? Why didn't you have a conversation with me like an adult? Why did you have to go be a whiny little baby and be like, nee, like she might be leaving, fired? I'm so tired of the way that these people run these companies. They run them like they're little toddlers. And their emotions just all over the place. So that was my first experience here in Washington. And of course, what he did was, so in April when I was first hired, and because he threw everything at me and was having me run every single lead that came through, vetted or not, whatever, and I was trying to teach myself the entire business, and I was working like 80 hours a week, he put me on salary in May. And salary is that you have to work 40 hours, and he had us clock in. Even if you're salary, you had to clock in and out. And in June, he didn't have enough business for me. There wasn't enough for me to do 40 hours worth of work, so I was working like in the 30s. Well, when he fired me in July, he said, we're gonna take back your salary. It was like $300. We're gonna keep this because you owe us for those hours you did not work. Like, well, that seems illegal, but okay, whatever, like, all right. And then he also told me that jobs that I had sold, because they weren't completed, he wasn't gonna pay me my commissions on those. So I had so many jobs that I lost money on that I had sold because they weren't gonna be done until July or August, and he just wasn't gonna pay me for them. That's why I hate working commission jobs. When they tie your hourly wage into the sale, and then they fire you, and you still have all these sales, you have all this money just sitting there, and you don't get to keep it. And that's why the one red flag that I kept getting was my coworker. He was an older guy, and he got all the really good jobs and all the really good like leads and stuff like that. And he was one of those like good salesman, you know. I went with him and I could see it. He was very smooth talker. He'd pet the dog, he'd work at finagle this and that. Like he sold a lot. So he was selling like $200,000 a month during like the high season and stuff like that. Well, the one thing that I learned is that this owner does not give you your commission like from the $200,000 that you sell. What he does is he averages kind of like a salary that you should be receiving, and you kind of keep most of your commission in the cloud. Like it's all locked away. Like if your commission is going to be $20,000 for that month, you're not going to see $20,000. He's going to give you $5,000 over the course of 4 months, you know, something like that. And I'm like, that doesn't sit well with me, because I know how these companies work, just how he did me. The second that they want to fire you, that money that he's kept, you're not going to see it. He's not going to send you a check for 15, 20, 30,000, whatever the amount is that he gets to keep into the cloud and in his own company. He's not going to send that to you. You're never going to see that money. You'll have to take him to small claims court. You'll have to try to prove without having access to software systems, things like that. He's going to nickel and dime it and say, oh, that didn't sell. That project was over, you know, priced, budget, whatever. He's going to nickel and dime it. He's going to scam you until there is nothing to legally give you. That's how commissions work. So I was like, oh man, I would be really scared if I were you, because you have a lot of money locked away that you potentially may never see if something happens to you. So yeah, so then after that, I came back from Mississippi, and I was actually applying to jobs while I was down in Mississippi, and I had this guy calling me. It was for mattress sales. You know what? I was like, mattress sales, it can't pay much. Only $15 an hour, you get a commission. Like, how much mattress can you really sell every single week? Don't trust it. So I talked to the guy and was like, look, like my goal, because Seattle area is so expensive, and I want to at least be able to live. I want to be able to retire. I want to be able to go on a vacation. I want to be able to go try some delicious chef food every now and then. I want to be able to do all of these things and afford a nice place. My goals are, I want to make $5,000 a month. Is that possible at your company selling mattresses? So we had to talk. Like, I was serious. I'm going to be real with you. Told me, oh yeah, my daughter, she works for me. She makes $5,000 a month. Definitely, you will make $5,000 a month, making $15 an hour. I'm like, okay, let's go with it then. Like, if that's possible, if you are telling me this and you know the numbers of your company better than me, you know what your employees make better than me, okay, cool, let's do it. I come back to Seattle area, go work for this guy at the mattress thing. He's super religious, and he's just very religious-y to me, and, you know, talking and stuff like that. I don't really like the vibe. I don't like people who are in, you know, that way. I don't like that. Because they kind of feel like that they're using that as like a crutch or something, that they want you to really trust them just because they're religious. Trust me, you know. It makes me not trust you. So I spoke with him. I went to dinner with his family. Everything seemed cool. I go work my first day. Place is dead. Okay, how am I gonna make $5,000? I only make hourly like $2,000 something a month. You know, I need $3,000 in commission, and we do team selling too. No matter if you sell something, someone comes in, they buy from this person that's working with you, or you, everybody's getting the cut. First day didn't go so well. It looked like I think that $5,000 was a dream and a lie. So I'm like, how much are you paying your daughter then? Because something's not adding up. My second day, only have maybe a couple of customers come in. It's me, another person. I work with his daughter a few times. I asked the guy after my second day, I'm like, hey dude, like, he's been there for years. I'm like, is it possible? Like, are people making $5,000 a month working here? Like, because it seems dead. And I don't see any way, logically, mathematically, to ever get to $5,000 a month based on what I'm seeing. And he tells me all of us usually make around $3,000 a month, including commission, including hourly pay. That is what he has been making for years. $3,000 a month, $36,000 a year in the Seattle area, where the living wage to make a good, decent life, you know, just to pay basic bills, save for retirement, maybe go on a little modest vacation, $72,000. What a deficit. I'm like, are you for real? I am not happy about that. I am not happy that my time has been wasted, that I have been lied to by this Christian religious man who sells mattresses. Wow. So I go in for my third or fourth day. It wasn't very long. They want me to clean the entire place. So I am cleaning, literally cleaning, vacuuming, mopping, sweeping, like doing these types of things. Like, what am I, housekeeping? Like, I'm supposed to be here making sales and commission. Why am I doing cleaning? This isn't giving me a commission. So I'm a little upset, but of course I do it. I don't let anything affect me. I am a very fast and efficient worker. I make sure that things are done properly, but I get restless if there's nobody coming in, if there's nothing for me to be doing. Like, I need sales, I need sales, I need money to survive. Where is the money? Where are the sales? Where are the people coming in to buy? They are not here. So I only worked there, I think like 4 or 5 days. It was something. I just know that I came in, it was either the 4th or 5th day I came in, and also there was one thing that really was annoying, is that he didn't have us clock in and out. They based our hours on the schedule. So if you were supposed to start working at 10 a.m., you only were paid 10 a.m. to close. If you stayed past close, if you came in earlier, you were not getting paid for that time. Because usually I like to show up earlier. I'm usually 10 minutes early for work, but I get to clock in and I get to get paid for that 10 minutes that I'm there on the clock, ready to work. So that was something I didn't really like, because why am I going to show up early when I'm not going to get paid for that time? That's annoying. And so I show up for probably only my 4th or 5th shift, maybe not even that. It was not very long. And he's like, you know what, this just isn't working. You can go home. I'm like, peace, because you lied to me anyway, you scammer. And so, yeah, that was the end of that. Did not last very long in mattress sales, let me tell you. It was very cringy. I absolutely hated working there, just because it was so slow, so mundane, and I wasn't gonna make any money. I was being lied to. You know your employee's not gonna be happy if they tell you a goal and what the money that they need to survive and what they are looking for, and then you lie to them? The audacity. Like, grow up, okay? Tell people, no, you're gonna be in poverty. You're only gonna make $2,000 a month working here. because I'm a POS. Oh my God. So yeah. So I wasn't there very long, thankfully. And so I was back on the job hunt again out here in Washington. And so I started applying to jobs, you know, not feeling too great because this is now my second firing from these male owners who act very childish and can't be truthful with me. And so I ended up interviewing. Back in the construction world, I saw this job. It was $21 an hour. I was like, whoa, like that's the most I have ever made guaranteed in my life. I was really excited because it was 21 an hour plus commission. So excited. I went to visit the guy's showroom. It was in Kirkland. It was impeccable. It was beautiful. Everything was done like so nicely. He was very focused on quality. He wanted the absolute best quality, which I am always about customer service and giving the best. So I don't want to be paired with someone who is okay with like upset customers and doing poor quality and things like that, which you can find in construction. So for me to be in construction and find someone who is that focused on quality and things like that, I was really happy. And he called me and was like, yep, I'm gonna hire you. Like, what commission? Like 1% commission. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna do something I'm not used to doing, negotiate. And I was like, 'cause the guy that I worked for through the summer with the construction, when I first came out here, he was giving me 3% commission. So I said, I will take it, 21 an hour, because I think he had actually said something like 19 or something like that, but he put in the ad like a range, and 21 was the top. So I was like, I'll take it, 21 an hour, 3% commission, because that's what I made in my last construction job, was 3% commission. And he was like, good, we're good to go. And I was like, oh, yay. I was so excited that finally I felt like I had found a place, good quality, pay me decent hourly. You know, of course it's not like even a living wage close to here in Seattle area and everything like that. But you know what? I was on my way. I was going up. I was going up in the workforce. My pay was going up and all of that. He didn't offer any benefits, so that was not so great. But you know, it was a good start. So I started working there, and the fun thing was I could make my own hours pretty much. Like I still had to go in, and my coworkers were 1099. So they didn't have to actually come into the showroom, and they worked solely on commission. So they made 10% on their sales, and that was it. So the downside to me entering that space was a few things. So I was getting paid decent hourly, but there was no business for me. Zero, none. I had to go out and drum up my own business in my own sales, which I'd never done before. This was the first time. And it was doing something a little bit different. It was in construction, but it was different construction. So I was doing things like demos. I was doing things like finishes. So like floorings and cabinetry, countertops, those types of things. And there was something unique that he wanted me to focus on. So he brought in this other person after wanting me to focus on was he wanted to kind of get into working more commercial businesses or working in the commercial sector. So I was out every single day, hitting the pavement, talking to architects firms, all this stuff, like reaching out every single day, mostly driving around and going to designers, architects, just so many different places that were around his showroom in Kirkland. And he wasn't reimbursing me for gas. Like I sent it to him anyway, but he didn't reimburse me. Never did. He was very cheap. And he also kept giving me my paychecks like late or not at all for a while, like a couple of weeks. And sometimes he would give it to me and be like, don't cash this for 5 days or something like that. He did that also multiple times. And so I was getting a little concerned, you know, I'm like, well, is this place even gonna be open in the next few years? I don't know. So I just tried to drum up as much business as I could. I went out driving. I was working there in November. So from November to December, I was teaching myself how to use his software because he had his own special software in like how to price things, where to put stuff, and how to send it to the shop for it to actually get made. And I had to go in and view after they went out to officially measure and make sure that everything was good and that certain materials were going in the areas, and making sure the material was ordered, making sure it's accurate, making sure projects were on time and on budget. If there were any issues, like making sure that there were like put on the schedule for people to go and redo something. And I had to put things on the schedule, like as far as the schedule for cutting and also the schedule for going and installing it and demo and all these kind of things. And this was an entire industry that I was totally new to. So I was teaching myself about finishes and which ones are needed in certain areas, thicknesses, like what people should look for if they're looking for certain properties that they want or need in certain areas, and the design aesthetics of it, colors, all this type of stuff. So between November and December, I had 0 sales because I was starting from 0. And that is where my coworker, there were actually 2 people. One of them was a female. I rarely saw her. She hardly ever came to the showroom, and she sold a ton. She had been with this owner ever since he almost opened the business. She pretty much built his business because she was the driving force to bringing in the sales and going out and marketing herself and bringing those customers to his company. And she was selling probably at least 100,000 or 150,000 worth of stuff every single month. Now, my other coworker was pretty new. I think he'd only been there like maybe a year, but he was so lucky because the previous person that used to work there, I think was fired. Something happened. He left. I think this guy fires a lot of people. And as I worked there, I would come to see that. And so he pretty much inherited all of that guy's accounts and sales, you know, like that he had built up. So he almost didn't have to do much. He pretty much just walked straight into this huge account, or all these accounts. And so right away, he was selling $100,000 a month. Both of them selling a ton. So that was my goal. I saw both of them and I said, my goal is $100,000 a month in sales. That's what I want to get to. Because making $21 an hour, that's a pretty decent, you know, amount. And if I sold $100,000, I only got 3% commission from that. But I can make a pretty decent living, you know, like that's the goal. The goal is to have enough money coming in to where I can be happy, fulfilled. I can afford a house. I can afford some nice chef's food. Maybe I can take a class in martial arts, which I've wanted to do for a really long time. And maybe I can afford a nice house and go on a vacation. Like I want to be able to travel. I love adventures. So that was the goal. I was excited. I was ready to go. I did not have to worry about being there at any specific time because here in Washington, traffic's atrocious. You will never get anywhere on time. Like it's, sometimes I would show up 20 minutes before the place even opened and I would be sitting out in my car in the cold, or other times I would be 30 minutes later. Because my traffic, even with Google or anything, sometimes the metering, that I should do a video on the differences between Washington and Mississippi, is here we have metering to get onto the interstate during busy times, and that is pretty much like a red light. So everyone sits in this ginormous line and the little light turns red or green and lets people go at certain intervals, and traffic is still just backed up to who knows where, like the middle of nowhere. So it took me usually like an hour to get to work sometimes, or maybe more, every single day, there and back. And I lived 10 miles from where I worked. So it'd take me an hour to go 10 miles on the interstate. It was crazy. But, so that was nice. I didn't have to get there at a certain time. So, because I'm such a people pleaser, I don't like being late. I know with employers, that gives them an excuse to fire you. And I don't like giving them any excuse to make them unhappy with me, to make them fire me. I want to be the best employee, the model employee, the absolute best person working there. I always strive for perfection. So not having to worry about being late took off a lot of stress on me. So I was able to show up, kind of do my own hours, and go out and be out in the world. Again, I was being paid to go travel, to see beautiful architect firms and general contractors, and go see these cool designers, and maybe get coffee with someone who sells finishes. Like I was able to do all this fun stuff. It just felt so amazing. I was able to use like all of my skills as far as like sales and people and customer service, and also my inquisitive mind for like learning and why do things work and how do things work. And I was having to do all these types of things and like learn all the different finishes and the stones and the cabinetry and all of this stuff. So it was just a lot of fun. And the showroom was beautiful too. And I was able to get delicious coffee. He had this really amazing coffee machine. So I was able to get yummy coffee every single day and sip my little coffee. I had Pete the poinsettia in December. I bought a little tiny baby poinsettia and set it on my desk, and it was just beautiful. And I would talk to him every day, and he was just so cute. And then I bought the office lady. She was really sweet. She did like mostly the invoices and things like that. And I bought her a little succulent plant and brought it for her. And so we just had a nice, fun, like office environment. I'm very much like an introvert when it comes to work and things like that, but I have my periods where I like to go out and just chat and say hello and do this and that, but I'm super focused at work. I like to work on things, and I like my peace and quiet. And so my 3rd month working there, I sold $60,000. I went from absolutely zero to like maybe 10,000 to 60,000, and I couldn't believe it. I was so excited. I was so close to my goal of 100,000. It was so close, and which is unheard of when you're having to build accounts from absolute zero, from complete ground up. Like, it's really, really hard. I had to really, really work hard, and I had to price a lot of them not at his super. He had a price level, so he had like A, B, and C price level, and A pricing was like really crazy pricing, and then like B was like normal, and then like C, and I had one of these people that was like a general contractor, and he wanted to get like wholesale pricing. So he was a pretty good customer of mine, and I had jobs probably almost every single month that I did with him. They usually were really small, and there was a very small profit margin. Now, one thing to note is my first day working there, and I went, and when I was out drumming up my own sales, I went to see this person and talk to them. And they were in the flooring or something like that. They were in some kind of business slightly similar to ours. And I spoke to the guy, told him who I was with, and he was like, oh man, good. Like, I need someone to do this very complex like floor design. Like, it needs to be cut, and the design is very intricate. Like, there's going to be a north and south. Like, it was like a compass. It was a beautiful compass, and the north and the south, like, they were going to be cut out of like metal. So it was really complicated, and this was my first day on the job, so I didn't literally know anything. I didn't know how to price stuff. I didn't know how to use the software. I didn't know anything, how I could even begin pricing, ordering, doing anything with it. But I had my first sale, so I was like, oh, this is so cool. Well, this was for a commercial project. So I went and talked to the owner about it. And so we drew it out, we discussed it. I looked up materials, I did research on this. I was trying to figure out like all these things. And so, but that job wasn't ready yet. So it kind of got tabled for a few months, because this is a commercial job. It's commercial for an apartment building that actually my coworker went to live in. And so that was cool. But I was like, let me go see. Oh, hold on, let me let Molly out. She's whining. So a lot of commercial timelines are really far out. So I was selling all my other jobs, doing things. He ends up hiring this older guy who he claims is like the guru. Like, this person is supposed to be the like most amazing person. I was supposed to work closely with this guy and learn the business and learn everything that he knows and listen to him, because he was supposed to be the expert on these things. And this guy always told me, like, when you're ready, like, I have people in, you know, tile, I have people in flooring that can do installers. I have these people, they can do those work, they can do that work for you. Like, go price it, go do these things. He had architectural drawings, and he wasn't someone who could work with the computer software. He was an older guy. He didn't want to work with the computer software. So he actually wanted plans printed out, literally print, and he taught me how to read them using the scale and all that kind of stuff. So it was cool. I was able to learn a lot from this person, but they also were really weird. So this person, in the beginning, he wasn't that strange, but there was one instance when I was in the showroom, and he was like joking and playing around, and he literally in the showroom, and he's like a shorter person too, like he's, you know, little, I'm only 5'0", but he was like not too much taller than me, like maybe 5 or 6 inches, and he punches, like literally at me, punches, and he just punches right next to my face. Like, who does that? And I don't move. Like, I'm like, what is your problem? old guy. So I just ignore it because like my style of like in the workplace is don't rock the boat, don't get fired, don't cause issues, you know, don't do it, just don't do it. It'll be detrimental to your livelihood and your life. So I ignored that, but I thought that's really weird. Like he was just giving me icky vibes. And he also started calling me on my way home or on my off days, and he would talk for like an hour and he would just ramble. He would ramble on about how beautiful I was or this and that, just like random stuff. Talk about his past girlfriends, how beautiful they were, how he used to live in Vegas, how he used to like manage these like multi-million-dollar projects, building the casinos in Vegas and like doing all this complex work, and he used to be like all that. And I'm like, you tell me the same thing every single time you call me. And it wasn't just once or twice, it's like 10 times. Like, dude, quit telling me the same stories over and over. Quit bothering me. Quit being a weird creeper. What is your problem? But he was the expert. And so I started noticing after he'd been hired for a month or two, so at first the owner was very enamored by him. Like he thought this person was going to come in and save his business. This person actually even said that he had gotten sales that was like, or bid, he'd won the bid for this project that was way in the future, like 1 or 2 years, but it was like $1 million project. He told the owner we'd won that bid, like we were gonna get $1 million project. So of course the owner's all excited, you know, this is really exciting things. But every single month, this guy never sold anything. So he would work with me because I would have some questions here and there. He would actually put in an email to the owner my sales and my business that I project managed, that I did all the communication, that I found, that I bid, that I did everything for, all the work. He would put that down as like as like something that he had consulted me with. He would come into my office and be like, oh, what are you working on? Like, what are you doing? Oh, you're doing that? So we would talk about my projects and things like that. And then he would go and type it up and send it off. That's not your project. That's not your thing. That's mine. Like, what are you talking about? And so, but me and him, we started working on commercial bidding. And I could use the software to measure things out because that's the most efficient way of doing it. But he insisted that we actually go print it. And at this point, the owner was under a lot of pressure and stress, I think, because he was about to go bankrupt or something was about to happen. He was a very shady guy. And he wasn't paying my commissions. I was getting a little frustrated with that. I want my commissions. I know how this game works. It usually doesn't turn out well. And so the older guy was getting really upset. He literally yelled at me in the showroom one time because he wanted the architectural drawings to be printed. Am I your secretary? No, I am a salesperson just like you. Go print them yourself. Figure it out. I don't know. So I had to go and find where to print this because this dude just needed them printed, and go print them out, and they were so expensive. But luckily the owner gave me his card, so I went to go pick them up and get them printed and did that. Come back, they were wrong. Like they didn't do it correctly. Something was off with it. They had not done it right, and he got mad at me. I'm like, I just sent them the file. Like I tell them what to print. I can't help that they didn't print the things you were wanting. I told them to. Like maybe you should go do this yourself. Here's a wild thought. Go do it yourself. I'm not some gopher. I'm not your assistant. Oh, it was so ridiculous. And I'm sure he was paying this guy a lot of money probably because he was the expert. So I'm sure he probably was. And so this guy actually, he helped me price out a demo because I'd never priced out a demo before, like a complete kitchen remodel. Not like a complete one, but like a little bit more in depth than what I was used to because I've only been there like 4 months. And so I'm new to the whole business and I'm still learning and all that kind of stuff. So he helped me figure this out because the owner wanted me to work with him and learn through him, you know, wanted me to learn experience and figure out how to do these things with this guy. So me and him worked closely together on some projects where I had questions. And there was one project, and remember, he told me, he was like, I have the installers for all these things. Like he has all these connections, like he's, you know, end all be all, the perfect person. And so I actually sold a job that required like a tile person, that required a demo, that required all these things, and our fabrication shop did not have those types of things. So I go ask the guy, I'm like, hey, like who are your contacts? Who are they? He literally tells me like, nope, they're all full, they're all busy, can't do it. Like, dude, I have a sale right here. It's like $12,000. Like, and you're telling me you're not gonna have anybody to actually be able to do the work? What was the whole point? Like, that's the whole point. Me and you worked on this, and this was gonna happen. You knew that this is what we were working on. This potentially was going to sell. Why would you tell me you have all these people and you really didn't? Or they're too busy? Like, what's going on? And so luckily I talked to the lady who also, you know, the sales lady who was there. She was never hardly there, but I sent her a text, and she knew this person who's able to do tile. And so I sent him a text and was like, oh my gosh, ASAP, like, I need this project. It is already sold. Like, I need you to go install this or do this or demo this and all this stuff. And luckily I was able to pull it out, because being ADHD, I'm very good at thinking on your feet and like figuring things out and making sure things actually happen, which made me really good in the construction world, because I constantly had projects that you know, happen like this, because also I'm new and I don't have those connections. So I have to constantly be trying to figure out solutions or find the people to do that, you know? And so I was able to turn it around and get it all done. And then I sold a job that was a commercial job, and it was a bank job, and it was $50,000 worth of a job. I sold it. But at this point, the owner was not happy with the expert and was coming to me and saying that the expert was not very good, and that they had consulted with him, and the job that I had sold, the compass, the expert had looked at it and consulted with the owner and told the owner how much to price it for, and he wanted to use slab material for the compass shapes instead of doing it as little tiles. And so slab material costs more. And so I wasn't going to be able to get commission from that job, because the expert and the owner both decided to price it out at a price where it was going to lose money. And actually I had talked to the owner and was like telling him, like, when I'd priced it originally, I priced it for more. And when I talked with him, I'm like telling him it needs to be for more. And then he decides we're going to do it for less. He's the expert, he's the owner. I can't say anything against that. An expert and an owner. I've only been in the business 4 months. What can I say? So, you know, there goes my commission for my very first sale. Wow, this is really not cool. And so the $50,000 bank job, though, that was really exciting. I couldn't believe I'd gotten it. And I actually went and met the person that was doing it, and he asked me questions, and we went through all this stuff, and we walked through this space, and I was able to proficiently answer questions and have conversation with him about the project, because I was good at it. Well, the owner decides to fire the expert, because he was like, this expert is not that much of an expert. So he fired him, and he had a paycheck for him, but the expert was like, nope, I'm not going to collect my last paycheck. Like, that's my donation to you, the owner. And I don't think he ever collected his last paycheck, or whatever it was. I don't know if it was commission or how, I don't know what the relationship was as far as like the money and how that worked. And so because of that, I'd got materials to send off for the bank job, which I had sold, and it was $50,000. And I had to keep talking to the expert who was fired, because I didn't know where we were at for this, or like ask him about his numbers, things like that, because it was a commercial job that we both had bid out. And because it was very complicated. We had like specially made wood and stuff for like the wall and things like that. It was a bank. So a lot of like really cool specialty things. And so I was doing that. I was like having to talk to the expert who was fired so that I can work on that job. The owner starts talking to me and telling me, you're the best person in here, you're the best like salesperson, like you're all of this, that. He starts telling me all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, cool, like, you know, this dude's just talking out of the side of his mouth, of course. But then not only like what happened was he told me all of that, then the day comes, I feel like he's very unhappy. He comes in and is like, are you talking to, you know, the guy that he fired, the expert? And I'm like, yeah, like I have to talk to him because we still have projects together, and I have to ask him where he got number or what this is or that. He gets so upset that I had been talking to the guy that he fired, because we have projects that we need to work on and they need to keep moving forward. So I start to get this feeling, because I've been feeling it for a while. This is how people work. When they owe you money, they start to really get unhappy because they owe you money. Thing keeps dying. It's died like twice. I've had to charge it and like try to push forward because this story is quite long. But so I'm probably gonna break my Seattle journey into a few different videos, where was I even at with the other one? Oh, towards the end. So this was the end, you know, I knew it was the end of employment because I get these vibes and I can read people really well and I can see the writing on the wall before it actually starts to happen. And so some weird things happened. The owner stopped wanting us to put our creamers in the refrigerator, which was in the showroom for our coffee. He wanted us to put our creamer in the shop like area, the tiny little fridge there, so I did. And he also, like my last like day or two working there, he didn't want me to even use coffee from the coffee machine, so I actually went and bought my own beans to use, but then I was fired right before I could use them. So I just had these beans and I was like, what am I supposed to do with these? But yeah, so he was getting really weird, and there was a girl we had hired pretty recently, probably less than a month before I was gone, or maybe 2. Probably less than a month, I think. She was working on CAD stuff and like drawings and things like that. And me and her like really got along. She was so much fun. In the mornings she would come in before me. She would leave before me. And I would come in a little bit later and leave later. And so when I would come in for work, she would come popping out of her little office, and she would come and she would be like, let's go have coffee, like our coffee break time. And so she wanted to sip coffee and like make it with me and like chat for like 5 minutes or something. So I absolutely loved having her in the office. It just made the dynamic in the office just way more fun than the owner sitting in his office all broody and everything. And the older expert that was there, which wasn't there anymore. Oh, actually he hadn't been fired yet. So this girl, when we were hired, he was talking with her and everything like that. And after he was fired, he was telling her that she needs to try to find a different job because this job was just, you know, going down and it was going to be terrible. And so he actually ended up finding her a job at another company that made cabinets. And so she was only there a few weeks and she went over to the other job. And he also hired this outside sales lady, and I think he's going to pay her pretty well. She was a very like fiery, I could tell. She was someone who establishes boundaries. She has, you know, good boundaries and all that stuff, you know. She's one of those people. She's not me. I am not good at that kind of thing. And so she only worked there a few days, and then he couldn't necessarily pay her, and so she came in and was like, you know, for your own good, like what you're looking for, like I don't think this is a good relationship. And so they parted ways, and I still kept in touch with her a little bit. She started doing some kind of like showing or something like that company that she started, and I don't know what she's doing now because I haven't really talked to her recently because this was like 3 years ago or 2.5 or something like that. It's been a little bit. And so I was pretty much the only person left. It was me and my coworker who's a really close friend of mine. He was the person who actually made the system that this person used, and he worked for this person for like 16 years with his own company, but he lived in another country. So this was his first time being here in America, and he actually lived with the owner, and their relationship was actually really toxic and terrible because he wasn't necessarily paying him like everyone else. And the people who were 1099, the girl, she kept up with him. Like, she didn't want him to owe her any money. She was very forceful, and she sent emails and she made sure she got her commission. But the guy that was 1099, his wife made a lot of money, and so the owner really took advantage of that and hardly ever paid him commission until that guy just got so furious he would finally give him a little bit after months. And so he literally owed my coworker like over $100,000, like $150,000 in commissions. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're never gonna see that. But so we all would like talk about this and like the money issues and the problems and like what we should be doing and like all this kind of stuff. And I was getting really worried about like where my commissions, like when, and because I could feel like that he was gonna fire me because he'd been firing people had been leaving, like the relationship was getting really bad. And I was like one of the only people left in the office now, and he actually yelled at the lady that did the ordering and things like that and like invoices, and she was telling me that like he yells at her and just the way he treated her. And I was glad that he never yelled at me and he never put pressure on me for certain things. He did want me to keep a spreadsheet, and he would ask for it, of like my daily tasks, like what I did or what businesses I visited or who I emailed. Like I had to keep this running log of like everything that I was doing for, and I worked there 7 months. So I did that for about 7 months. And he would just randomly ask for it. Sometimes he wouldn't talk about it for like a month or two, and so I would just kind of like not really be putting down into it, like all my stuff, and then he would ask for it after 2 months and be like, hey, send that over. And I'm like, are we still doing that? Like, okay, I'll try to figure it out. Let's try to fill it out. Like I did this project, I was doing that project. Like I'm already so busy with all of these projects, trying to make sales and all this kind of things, and then trying to put up with your BS and you not paying me. So It was a whole thing. But it was probably around May where things started getting really bad, and it was the day I could tell that it was gonna happen. And I was like, okay, today I have to talk about my pay. And so I got everything ready because I just knew the second that I had talked to him about when am I gonna get paid, he was going to fire me. So I tried to get everything in order. I tried to get numbers for everyone because I still had projects that were going, and I had that $50,000 bank job that I wanted to make sure it got done. And he came in and told me, we're not gonna do that $50,000 bank job. What was the whole point of me working so hard at this company and trying to get these commercial jobs just to actually sell one that's absolutely amazing, and then you're gonna say, no, we're not gonna do it? Like, I've already talked to this guy. He's already agreed with us. Like, we've already done all this stuff. We've put so much effort into it. He's depending on us to build it and do this job, and you're saying no? It was ridiculous. And so I was like, let me make sure that this job does get done. I don't want to let this person down, this GC. So I made sure that I took my samples. I made sure that I had everything to make sure the job did get done, because I don't like letting people down, especially someone that I built a relationship with and I had been working with them on things, and then the owner says we're not going to do it. And he was getting upset, I think, with me because I was having to talk to the guy that he fired, the expert, and he thought that I was giving his jobs to the expert, which I wasn't at all. Like, I literally was consulting with him on jobs that we had worked on together and doing this. So his preconceived, like, paranoia and his male masculinity, or whatever you want to call it, just like all the other people I've worked for previously, he was acting very immature. And instead of like coming from a place of rational thinking and like talking like adults, he just immediately had these ideas which were inaccurate and not true at all. Because if he actually knew me as a person, he would see that I don't operate in that way. I'm very ethical. Like, I'm a very ethical person, and I definitely conduct business in a very ethical way. And I'm very loyal. So, but because he didn't know me, he thought I was like him. And the way he does business is unethically, and he's not loyal. He was projecting that onto me. So I got everything in order, being prepared to be fired. I go have the talk with him. We sit out on the front porch and we start talking. And I ask him about my commissions and all this kind of things. And he keeps just giving me the runaround, doesn't really want to address things or talk through stuff. Then he accuses me of taking business to the other guy, and I'm like, no, like, I literally just have consulted him with these types of things. Like, okay, like, I just need to know, like, when I'm gonna get paid my commissions on these jobs. Like, this is the amount, this is what, you know, when am I gonna get this? And he's just like, you're fired. Like, okay, nice working with you. Like, I'm gonna go get my stuff, you know, hi, you know, have a nice life. So I go pack up my stuff, get out of there. I mean, I knew it. I saw the writing on the wall. I know how these men work, and I knew what was gonna happen. The second that I try to put a boundary down, the second that I try to ask for something that I actually am owed, this is what happens. So that was in May. I get fired in May, and I go apply for unemployment. All my previous times that I've been fired, I've never applied for unemployment. So this was the first time I applied for unemployment. Never done it, never knew like how to navigate it or what goes on with it or anything like that, you know. So I try to figure it out here in Washington, and I fill it out and do all the stuff. They deny me. And they deny me because they say that he contested it. He said he didn't fire me. He just saw me leaving with my box of stuff. He had no clue why I was leaving. I was like, are you for real, dude? Like, not only are you not gonna pay me and you're gonna treat me that way, fire me, then lie and say you didn't fire me and try to mess up me actually even getting any type of unemployment to help me with bills because you have fired me and not paid me. Are we in the Twilight Zone? How does this make any sense? How do these corporations and these small businesses and these companies get away with treating their employees so bad and being so illegal? And I know this guy, he has gone through so many workers and their story is the same as mine. I know he has so many complaints against him, and guess what? He's still limping along. He's still doing it. He's still doing it. Why doesn't Washington shut him down? If you are going to be treating people this way, if you are not contributing to our workforce, you are not helping the environment by using, abusing, and sucking off of people like a leech. That is not helping Washington, okay? Take your business back to Russia. That's all I can say. But yeah, so I was like, oh my gosh, like I could not believe the audacity. And he started stalking my Facebook page. He took screenshots of my Facebook posts. I'm applying to jobs. I'm not getting anywhere with any good jobs. Still like working on construction stuff, but I wasn't getting paid. I wasn't working for anyone, and I wasn't making any money. So he started taking screenshots of stuff, stalking me. He sent it in to unemployment for his case to say that I did not qualify for unemployment because of all of these things. He was saying that I had my own business because I registered an LLC. Like, registering an LLC, okay, let's just get this very clear with unemployment. You can have side jobs, you can do these types of things. Your unemployment has to do with your previous employer and if you were fired or not. And how much money you make, all you have to do is disclose how much money you actually made. And that gets subtracted from the check that you get from unemployment. So if you don't make any money, you can work on business ideas. ESD does not shut you down and say you literally can only apply to jobs. You can't have business ideas. You can't work on business logos or different things like that. You can't have these types of things. Like, I'm experiencing that right now. I'm gonna do an entire video on my experience with the unemployment system pre-pandemic, during the pandemic, and now coming out of the pandemic, because I think it's something we really need to be discussing and talking about, because there's a lot of shady stuff going on with unemployment, but that's another video. So yeah, he was doing all this kind of stuff, and so I had my hearing, and the judge threw out all of his stalking on my Facebook because this was evidence that he had screenshotted, but he didn't send it to me. So the judge was like, this evidence is thrown out because how can this be evidence? And he was telling the judge, oh, actually it was his wife, but he was listening. I know he was listening. It was on speakerphone or something. And so she was like talking and stuff, and she was like, oh, but she was, we didn't fire her. Like, we look over, she's just leaving with her box of stuff. Like, we don't know why she left. She just up and left. She just disappeared. She just never came back into work. She took her stuff and left, just said nothing. What a lie. And so they were saying that, and then the judge was listening, you know, and I was like saying my part, you know, like, no, like, this is what happened. Like, I tried to discuss with you my pay and like not getting paid, and then you fired me. And then he tells the judge, oh, like, she was stealing business. She was talking to the guy that I had fired, the expert, and she was moving business over and out and what. And so I won my case, and I was able to collect unemployment, and that was it with him. I'll tell you some more stories next time, because my GoPro has literally died so many times in the middle of me telling the story. So we're gonna continue with our series of unfortunate jobs. And if you made it this far, all the way to the end of the video, oh my gosh, kudos to you, because this is a very lengthy one. But I recommend probably people who are watching this to definitely watch it in the shower or doing something, because it's pretty lengthy. I have a lot to say. I'm very chatty. But yeah, thanks for watching this video, and I will see all of you in the next video.